to get to all the emails. And so I'm going to pick up from there. And I hope those who sent in their emails that you're on tonight listening. They're funny and interesting, and I'm happy to respond. So the first one says, "Hello, Audrey. Love your radio show. You are the dear Abby of the airwaves. Oh my, high praise indeed. I thank you. I hope I can fill those shoes." And she goes on to say, "I have a really good friend of mine. I'm sorry, I don't know if it's a he or she, but I have a really good friend of mine. We've been friends since childhood. We're now in our 30s. He has a dog, which I like, but he always brings the dog over to my house when he comes over to visit, and the dog is really not well trained. The dog jumps on everything, and he has urinated on my floor a couple of times. I told my friend that he needs to restrain his dog a bit if he comes over, but he doesn't. The dog runs wild through my house and sheds everywhere. I'm afraid just to tell my friend that if he continues to bring his dog over and the dog continues to be a problem, then he and the dog are not welcome here. But that would surely ruin our friendship of so many years. Should I lie and tell him that I was diagnosed with a pet allergy? I don't know what to do. Thanks." Well, I feel for you. I have to tell you, and for dog lovers out there, love your dog. You can love your dog. That doesn't mean everyone else is going to love your dog. Uh, I find that dog lovers tend to believe that everyone in the world should love dogs and love their dog in particular. And that's not always the case. I don't like people bringing animals to my home. That's my take. I don't think you should lie. If you are as good friends as you say that you are, and you value the relationship as much as you do, I'm also assuming that your friend would also value your relationship. I find that in situations like these, people are not very direct, not very honest. And so the other party continues to believe that the dog is welcome. So if the dog, knocks over a vase or something, and you both laugh and chuckle at it, they might not think it's a problem because you're laughing and chuckling at it, and they think the dog's there for laughs and giggles when you're really irritated. And so I think you should just be upfront and direct with this person. It might ruffle him a little bit. I think it's a him, but at the same time, you will have, I believe, a stronger relationship if you're able to be honest and direct about that. And his dog is not your dog. And if the dog is not well trained, he needs to get the dog trained. But again, you don't need to have a dog shedding in your home and urinating on your floor. And animal urine is just rank. No pun intended, but it reeks in the home, and you have to work so hard to get that smell out. So I would be direct and say, "Look, man, love you, but your dog's a mess, and we can't continue doing this." They might even be surprised because they thought you loved their dog. But dog lovers out there and dog owners, not everyone wants your dog in their home. Okay? I hope that helps. But it's better not to lie because, they're going to find out that you don't have an allergy. And then what will that do to the relationship? Okay. Number 2. "Hello, Miss Audrey. Thank you. I know that this problem in quotes may sound very trivial to you, but what can I do about coworkers stealing my lunch and snacks in the break room? I have worked for a company in construction for 6 years. I like it there very much, but there are about 13 people that share a refrigerator in our break room. I have on numerous occasions stored my lunch and snacks in the fridge, and I've gone back to retrieve something, and it's gone. It's very hard to catch the person or persons who are the culprits, since the break room where the refrigerator is another floor. I have brought it up to brought my own coolers for my food to put near my desk, but sometimes I need the fridge to put stuff in as well. I've talked to the supervisors about this. They have talked to all the employees, put signs up, etc., but no one has admitted to doing this, and no one has been caught. Maybe put laxatives in my snacks for the culprit. That's what I want to do. I'm missing my ice cream. So even your ice cream goes missing too. So it sounds like you've done everything that you know how to do. You've talked to the bosses, you've talked to the supervisors, they've put up signs. Sounds like you've put up signs, you've tried to bring in your own cooler, and they've talked to everyone and no one's admitting it, but your food keeps going missing. Not only is that expensive, but it's just ridiculous. I mean, these are adults. First, I have to say of that person that they lack boundaries. They seem to feel that the workplace is an extension of themselves, and and they're going to take just what's there because it's theirs as well. So that's one thing to look out for. This is probably not the only place where they are displaying really negative behavior because they believe that everything is theirs to have. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Something else to keep in mind, as I'm going to give you a suggestion, is usually when people have a problem, and the one who reacts to the situation usually gets labeled by a certain name for some reason. They never see the actor, they see the reactor. And so that you have to keep in mind to know what is going to be said about you in the workplace. I mean, we've talked about before toxic people and how to handle those, and sometimes you just have to walk away. But in the end, after you've done everything that you know how to do, you've talked to the bosses have talked to everyone. It is in construction. Not that construction workers are people who take food, but there's a general looseness about being together. So I don't know. I just there is a product on Amazon. And if you have ideas for this person, if people have their food getting stolen, email in and let us know. But there's an anti theft detection powder on Amazon. And the way it works is you take a little bit and you brush it on any surface, and it's clear. But when someone touches it, a translucent powder is transferred onto the person's hand, and then you see it under UV light. Even when they wash, it's hard to get rid of it because it's expensive to constantly make lunch for one or two other people. You never know who's doing it. So that's something to consider. You might want to go the really sweet route and make an extra lunch or snack for whoever seems to be really hungry and wanting to take your food. You'll also consider organizing kind of a lunch week for everyone, and say, since you like my food so much, let's all eat it together. But you don't want to do anything that could hurt the person when they ingest or take it in internally, and that could be, laxatives or Scotch bonnet pepper in your tuna sandwich, because that you don't know how they will react to that kind of stuff. So you want to be careful around that. I hope that helps, but you do want to find the culprit. We had a situation of my elderly father who was having things taken from his apartment on a regular basis, and we had to make the decision to put a camera in his living room to see who was taking it. I mean, he had things like money going missing, his television going missing, those kinds of things, and we had to make that tough decision to see who was actually the culprit taking this in. So hope that helps you. Okay, let's get to another one. Audrey, yes. I'm sick of guys who lie about the relationship status. Any ideas? Whew, that's a big one. So the first thing that I want to say is, if you find that he lied or is lying, cut him off immediately and be very offended that he turned you into the other woman. It's not, that's not something that you walked into, but he did it through his lying. And so cut him off immediately. Don't even talk about affection that you share for one another, because there's another woman who is hurting because of his lies, and you're hurting um, because he is lying, basically. One of the things that that I suggest to people, and I've used myself, is to ask one question. So you ask the question, are you married? And they usually say no. And then my follow up question is there anyone in your life who thinks that she belongs to you and you to her? It's a very specific question. And it makes people stop in their tracks and think for a minute. Huh. And if they start to think, then you have an answer. If they say, what? No, there is no one, then you also have an answer. But once they start to think, because that's a very specific thing, it's not whether you have a girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever the case, it's anyone in your life who thinks she belongs to you and vice versa. So that's a question I suggest people to ask, and that's a question I've asked myself, because it really stops people in their tracks. But it's very common for people right now to lie about their status. I don't know if they believe the lie or if they think it's okay. And it's never okay to interfere in someone else's relationship. And for men or women, we've had that before on this program. If someone is married or involved with someone else, have the courage just to walk away and find your own person. It's not okay, even if there's something wrong with the other person, because they will always say, oh, she doesn't do this, or she doesn't do that, or she doesn't treat me right. That's not your issue. Their issue is to work on their relationship and not to pull you into something that isn't healthy for you emotionally and sometimes not physically either. Okay. What do you think, Gary?
I agree with that. I do.
before on this program. If someone is married or involved with someone else, have the courage just to walk away and find your own person. It's not okay, even if there's something wrong with the other person, because they will always say, oh, she doesn't do this, or she doesn't do that, or she doesn't treat me right. That's not your issue. Their issue is to work on their relationship and not to pull you in into something that isn't healthy for you emotionally and sometimes not physically either. Okay. What do you think, Gary?
I agree with that. I do.